Welcome, gentlemen, to the League of Spiritual Gentlemen podcast, the show where we explore personal growth, resilience, and building a life with purpose. I'm your host, David Dwyer, and today we're diving into a topic that's hits close to home for me. It's the transformative and power of a support network for men, especially for men navigating ADHD. If you ever felt isolated, misunderstood, or like the world just wasn't built for you, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to be unpacking why having a strong community matters and why having around you really does matter, and how you can take, and it could be a lifeline for, especially a lifeline for men with ADHD, and for some actionable steps to start building your own support network, and to introduce you to a few that I'm a part of that could possibly help you. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with the basics. You always hear that phrase of like, oh, you know, a man should be an island, right? Like stand alone, be self-sufficient. But the thing is that, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, and it took many people, like the pyramids, it wasn't just one person, it took many people. Like, so when we're trying to build anything, we don't do it alone. As they say, it takes a village. And so, why is it so important, especially for men with ADHD, to have a support network? Like we get pressured, especially as we get older, it becomes so much harder to make friends or hold connections or try to kind of like be there for people, right? As kids, you play together, it's really easy to have the support networks because other people are providing it. But now, as an adult, you have to provide it for yourself. And that can be a challenge. Uh, we as human beings, we're wired for connection and we're wired to feel like we're a part of the tribe. And especially if you have ADHD, it's so easy, absolutely easy to feel like you don't belong anywhere. And it can be this feeling, especially when you're growing up, of like, because you think and see the world differently, you don't think anyone gets you. And you just feel this complete disconnect. So this is why we start masking. This is why we start putting on kind of masks and kind of personas to kind of protect ourselves because we don't know how to interact. These aren't our tribe, you know. And yet when you do find those groups, you find people that you can actually connect with, you can get vulnerable, you can get honest, you can start talking about the things that actually matter, and you can have that support in that group, like for me, when I was growing up, the Boy Scouts and the scouting was a huge, huge part of my life. Like I was diagnosed at 9 with ADHD, and I was the first kid in my school. The thing is, in my school, our class was only had 27 kids in it. And it was basically that same 27 kids from kindergarten all the way through eighth grade. And so as soon as I was diagnosed with ADHD, I already felt a little isolated, but after that moment, I felt even more isolated at school. I didn't feel like I had that support. And while the teachers were kind of supporting me with the education as much as they could, I wasn't getting that kind of support from my school friends or anything else. So no one could really understand it, and I couldn't really understand them. And yet, for me, when I would go into Boy Scouts, because scouting was something that, like, it followed my income. It followed a lot of my passions and like I was able to get outdoors, be active. I could be a leader. I could speak up. Like in school, I was very quiet and shy and like didn't want to talk or really, I didn't feel like I could connect with anyone. But when I was in like my Boy Scout Troop 391, for all my Troop 391 boys out there, um, it was one of those things that probably saved my life and helped me feel connection and recognize my value in place, right? Like having a support network means that you have people you can go to when you're struggling outside of like, your normal friends and family. Like having that extra like support can be so helpful and beneficial. you know, with men with ADHD, we face some unique challenges, and particularly with emotional dysregulation. It's not just about, we think of ADHD, when I was growing up, it was like, oh, it's just about like you have an attention deficit. It's not we have a deficit of attention. We just have all the attention and don't know how to narrow down or focus it. Hyper focus versus distraction, and then the shame and the self-doubt. Like growing up, I had a lot of shame and self-doubt about my abilities, especially in school. I like could never really get to writing. And one of the strategies that my parents used for me was my mom would talk, I would talk, and my mom would type. So, like a little dictation kind of thing. But, but I felt so shameful about it. I felt like I wasn't good enough. Like a lot of self-doubt, a lot of worry, a lot of less than feeling that I was broken. And here's the thing, for any Ben listening to this, ADHD people that are listening to this, you are not broken. You are an amazing, beautiful person. And yet, on average, the average ADHD kid receives about 10 to 20 times more criticism because of the distraction, because of the emotional dysregulation, because of the hyperfocus, and all those kind of things. As especially as kids, we're still trying to work out, and we get a lot of shame for it. Then it becomes difficult to open up. So we put on the mask, we put on the walls, and it can be a point of where as you get older, you start isolating more and more and more, and you don't want to share, you don't want to open up, and you just start closing off. And this is what leads to loneliness. This leads to so many issues. It's led to issues in my life. Um, in my 20s, after I got out of college and was starting to cook in Chicago, so I had friends, but I didn't have that strong support network anymore. And my ADHD was going out of control. So I started hanging around not the best of crowds. And that really had an effect. There's a phrase, you are the five people that you spend the most time with. And, I do find that very true, especially I think for us with ADHD. I take in and absorb so much of the energies and the things of the people around me, their attitudes, because of our heightened sensitivity to emotion and empathy, we can feel really deeply what those around us are feeling. So if you're around low energy, low vibration constantly, you're going to bring it down. But if you're around people that support you, that are encouraging you, right? You know, it can transform your life. One of the best support groups that I was ever involved with was Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I had a problem with my drinking because my ADHD was out of control. I didn't learn how to manage my ADHD, and I used alcohol as a way to cope. And now I've gone through the program, and it was one of those things that has helped me so much of building a connection with others, of recognizing I'm not alone. And then I found the men's ADHD support group. And this is a group, if you don't know about it, I'm one of the admins there. I'm on the leadership team, and it is a fantastic organization uh, that has over almost 20,000 members now, of men trying to get together to improve their lives, master their ADHD, and to become better men for themselves and for their families, learning how to understand their minds so they're not fighting against it. One of the things we hear so much in the group is just how much they don't feel like they're alone. And this inspired me to start my own group, the League of Spiritual Gentlemen, the League of, because I wanted to create a group of men that could support each other, that could follow their dreams and, conquer what they want to conquer, be able to feel that they can do it and that they are not alone. And I want to let you know, you're not alone either. We have so much to offer. And when you have that group and you have that team around you, you have those, you've got your bros, you got your boys in your corner. It makes it so much easier to know that you're not gonna like fall through the cracks. Like when I moved to Europe almost 9.5 years ago now, I was really involved with the AA, and a lot of people said, "Hey, dude, you're crazy to go travel to Europe on your own, not knowing anyone when you go to these countries. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna make friends? How are you gonna connect? Or you just feel really isolated?" And here's the thing is that I immediately went to an AA meeting right away. I got onto meetup.com and found many meetups that from expats to people who want to make friends to salsa classes, comedy, whatever it was. It was like, all right, I've got to go put myself out there. And is putting yourself out there scary? Yes. Is me like recording this and gonna put it out there scary? Yes. So recognize that asking for help or looking for that group is a really scary thing because it means that we're being vulnerable. We're getting into the vulnerability of saying, "Hey, I need help. I need that kind of support," or feel that energy around you that you're not alone. And that's the power of an amazing support group, of an amazing group of friends. So choose your friends carefully of who's willing to support you on your dreams, your goals, your desires. Who are you going to keep in track? A good friend or a good person in a support group calls you out on your bullshit as well, right? They call you out. They hold you accountable, not to be mean, not to harm you, but to help you show the way. This is why having a support group, a mentor, a coach, a therapist, someone to bounce these ideas off of. Because if it's only bouncing off you, you're not getting enough feedback. And one of the things that I remember from AA too is that, my thinking got me into that room. My thinking can't get me out of that room though. That's what got me there. So I need outside advice. I need people who've done it before. How do we get where we want to go? Find someone who has what you want and you ask them how they did it. That's what I learned, right? Find the people that have what you want and ask them how they got there. 9 times out of 10, they're willing to tell you because everyone walks through this journey, but you don't have to walk it alone. Right now, I know that there's just a huge loneliness epidemic going on throughout the world, especially with men. Men are struggling so much with connection and feeling that they can be a part of something, feeling that respect. So, but when you can find those groups like the League of Spiritual Gentlemen, men's ADHD support group, meetup groups that you have, your group of friends that, maybe it's a mastermind, whatever that is for you, you need to find that for yourself or start it yourself. Right? You'd be like, all right, but dude, there's nothing in my area. Then start it. You never know what will happen. Like I started doing my midweek men's circle meeting last year. I had one guy show up to the first meeting. It's been now about a year later, and I now have about 12 to 15 guys that show up on a regular basis. And we get new people coming in all the time to the Wednesday meeting. And my little group has grown, and the men's ADHD support group has grown. When it started out, it was three guys who wanted to start a Facebook group to support men. And bam, 5, 6 years later, we have one of the largest online platforms support groups for men with ADHD. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. When looking for a support group, there are a few things that I would look for. One, understanding and empathy. Making sure that when you enter whatever these kind of groups or things you want to get involved with, make sure it's people that understand that are to your goals. Someone that's accountable. So have accountability that, a good support network holds you accountable. Like in my own group, when I'm like, hey man, I need help, like make sure I get these emails done, or hey, can you hold me accountable to this? And people will call me up, make sure that I'm doing it. And it's such a good thing because I don't feel like it's just not my win anymore. It's our win. We don't do things alone. We do them with the help and support of our friends and our family and our support network. We can share experiences. So many, like I got a few guys that are all kind of teachers, and they have so much like relatable stories with each other. But all of us with ADHD, when I'm in these support group meetings, we all like are like just nodding our head along, be like, yeah, 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 totally get it. I feel like this. I feel like this. And knowing that you have that shared experience, like you just don't feel so alone. You realize that you're not broken, that you are just like everybody else, that everyone has the same struggles, everything that they're going through, and that if they can get through it, you can too. And then, another thing I would look for is, having professional guidance or someone like with some professionals, with coaches, with ADHD specialists, people that can develop you strategies and give you concrete, solid information and advice to really help you. With every advice, It's all wrapped up from their own experiences and repackaged. So find and take the bits that work best for you. And if that other bit doesn't work for you, leave it behind. Take what works for you and make your life the best life possible. And to all the men listening out there, especially those with ADHD, remember this: you are not alone. The power of support group isn't just about having people to lean on, it's about building a life where you feel seen, understood, and empowered. If there's one takeaway from today's episode, let it be this: asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Building a support group, a support network takes courage, but it's one of the most impactful things you can do for your mental and emotional well-being. So thank you guys for joining me on this episode of the League of Spiritual Gentlemen podcast. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone who might benefit from this. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review and comment, all that fun stuff. And let me know your thoughts of how you work. What's your support network like? How do you build that up? How do you connect with them so that you stay accountable and build each other up? Would love to know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Have a great, if not better day.